Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tom's Gadget Garage. Today I'm out here on the Hiboy Max Pro and we're going to do a little bit of a range test to see just how much range we can squeeze out of this single motor electric scooter. Now Hiboy does claim that this Max Pro will get up to 46 miles in the most ideal conditions, but just keep in mind that's exactly what that is, ideal conditions. Usually completely flat ground with minimum stop and go, riding in the slowest speed mode, in this case Eco, with a 165-pound rider on a windless day and 75-degree Fahrenheit temperatures, basically treadmill conditions. Well folks, today I weigh in at approximately 200 pounds, and so we'll see just how much range we can actually squeeze out of this thing. Now for today's ride, I will be cruising around in sport mode, which does have a top speed of 22 miles an hour. And I will be tracking this ride with Garmin GPS. That way we have a nice, accurate, and consistent way to measure this ride and compare it against other scooters. Now, normally for these range tests with single motor commuter scooters, I usually limit the speed to 20 miles an hour. Unfortunately, this scooter doesn't give you the option to fine-tune the speed in each of the speed modes. So we're going to work with what we've got, but based on my testing so far, I've been able to get this scooter up to about 21 miles an hour, so it's pretty close. Now, one thing that I like about this Hiboy Max Pro is the fact that it comes with a sizable battery for its sub $700 price point. So the battery on this scooter is 48 volt, 14.5 amp hour, which is good for 696 watt hours of capacity, which is on par with scooters that are several $100s more expensive. And the added benefit here is that this scooter happens to be UL certified, and Hiboy actually includes that certification sticker on the front of the scooter. Now the route that we're taking today is the same route that I take for all of my range tests, and it's approximately 70% paved surface and 30% hard packed dirt, which will give us a good opportunity to test this scooter out on a variety of riding surfaces. On that note, this scooter does have 11-inch tubed pneumatic tires. And 11 inches goes above and beyond what you typically find at this price point, which is usually something between 9 and 10 inches. So 11 inches is going to give you a better opportunity, or a better ability, I should say, to go over obstacles in the road. Now they are tubed tires, so just keep that in mind. They're not tubeless, but I wouldn't expect to find tubeless at a scooter at this price point. Now these tires do of course have a street tread to them, so really designed to be ridden on the beaten path. However, if you do have to ride around on hard packed dirt, or hard packed dirt with some light gravel, you can absolutely do that, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. And the scooter is able to maintain traction pretty well, no complaints in that department. And we've got a little more gravel here up ahead, and so far this Max Pro is doing really good on this riding surface, actually more comfortable than I expected. All right, looks like we got some puddles in the road. Speaking of puddles, this scooter does have an IPX4 water resistance rating. So it is on the lower end of what we see generally in the scooter market. However, at this price point, it's right around where it should be. IPX4 means this scooter is going to be able to withstand some splashes. And so I don't recommend riding this around in like rainy conditions, things like that. And generally speaking, I don't recommend riding any scooter around in rainy condition, primarily because these scooter companies do not cover water damage. All right, so we got more hard packed dirt here. Important thing to call out is that this is a full suspension scooter. So it's got front fork suspension as well as coil spring suspension in the rear. It's actually got dual coils, which you can't see externally. At first when I looked at this scooter, I didn't think it actually had suspension built into the rear, but it does. And as you can see from this image, there are actually 2 coils integrated into the deck of the scooter. Now, to be honest with you, there isn't a whole lot of travel in there, but it's just enough to make riding on, city streets, hard packed dirt, nice and comfortable for you. Another thing to note about that suspension is there is no adjustability. So what you get out of the box is what you're stuck with. And for me, weighing in at 200 pounds, I think it's doing a pretty good job for what it is. Something that I think is important to call out is the fact that this scooter does not have a voltage display on the screen. And that's unfortunate because voltage is really going to give you the most accurate read of how much juice you have left in the tank. What it does have though are 5 battery bars as well as a companion app, and that companion app will actually tell you how much percentage you have remaining in the tank, which is, a good concession. So every now and then I'll check in with the app to see how much battery we have left. Now, With that being said, with all these range tests, I usually mark my turnaround point somewhere between 60 and 65% battery remaining. And the reason for that is that on these electric devices, the first half of the battery is always more performant than the second half of the battery. As you wear a battery down, voltage goes down, output, top speed, acceleration go down. And so you're just gonna get overall less performance out of the bottom half of the battery. By marking your turnaround point at 60%, you can help ensure that you make it back to your starting point. Now just ahead, we are going to have a little area to test out the hill climbing ability of this scooter. Now I've done multiple hill climb tests, including our extreme hill climb test up a 23% grade, as well as the 12% grade in my first impressions ride. So if you want to check out the results of that, I will include those videos down below. But right up ahead is going to be our pedestrian bridge, and I've measured that at 8.5%. So above and beyond what most people are going to find on their typical ride. Now in terms of power, this is a 500 nominal watt scooter, which can crank out up to 650 watts of peak power. So we'll see how that does right up ahead on this grade. All right, folks, so we're still in sport mode. Throttle's all the way in, and we are making our way up. Right now, looking at the speed readout on the display, we're maintaining about 14, 15 miles an hour, and that's pretty steady and consistent. So far, so good. All right, we made it to the top. Now, on the downside, we'll have ample opportunity to test out the brakes. Now, this scooter does have dual drum brakes, a drum brake up front, as well as a drum brake in the rear. And one thing to call out about these brakes is that they're kind of switched. The rear brake is actually on the right-hand side instead of the left, like we typically find on a lot of electric scooters. So it does take a little bit getting used to. But I will say that for being drums, this scooter does have pretty decent stopping power and really gives us a good ability to control our descent down this decline. All right, folks, so for all of you keeping track, we officially crossed the 6-mile mark. We've been riding around for 32 minutes, and looking at our battery bars, we still got 5 out of 5 remaining. So right now we're cruising around, according to the display, 22 miles an hour. When I look at GPS, it's right around 20, 21 miles an hour. And this is a really nice cruising speed for this scooter. You know, from a handling standpoint, this is a smaller scooter. On my scale, it weighs in at 53.6 pounds, so it's relatively lightweight and very nimble. So if you're gonna be, riding around in tighter places, crowded places, this is a great scooter to do it on. And at 53.6 pounds, it does weigh in very similar to the Segway 9Bot Max G2 and G3, as well as other scooters in this single motor commuter segment. I don't know how well you can hear it on this camera, but this scooter is very quiet. You don't hear any kind of motor noise or anything. The only thing you really hear are the tires, and those are very quiet. Like I was mentioning earlier, 11-inch tires with a nice street tread to them, so perfect for riding on surfaces like this, which, by the way, as you can see, we're cruising around on this paved surface. It's got expansion joints and gaps between each of these paved surfaces, and this scooter is doing a pretty decent job of eating some of those up. We'll see how it does on this railroad track right up ahead. Full suspension in action. Let's see how it does. No trains, we're clear. All right, not too shabby. Obviously it's not going to be as comfortable as a scooter that's got, a full hydraulic setup or, a suspension with more travel, but it definitely took the edge off of those bumps. All right, quick little check-in here. We officially crossed the 10-mile mark. We've been riding around for about 47 minutes so far. And right now, battery bars are showing 5 out of 5. It hasn't gone down a single bar. I don't know how believable that is, but in a moment I'll pull over to the side, we'll hop into the app and see what the percentage readout looks like. All right, so exciting little update. We officially lost our first battery bar, so we are now at 4 out of 5 battery bars remaining, so I know that battery meter is in fact functioning, and that happened right around 12 miles. And so we'll see how quickly these other battery bars drop off, but once again I'll hop into that app and see how much percentage battery we have remaining, because I do want to mark that turnaround point right at around 60-65%. In terms of deck space on this scooter, it's actually got quite a bit. Obviously you're not going to see it there, but I have a size 10 shoe, and I'm able to comfortably place my feet on this scooter. Now, there is no kick plate. I am a huge fan of kick plates on scooters. I think most of them should have a kick plate. This here though is kind of a more mellow commuter scooter, so it's all right that it doesn't have one, but deck space is plentiful here. I'll throw the measurements for the deck up on the screen for you, but very happy with that. All right, folks, so I went ahead and got us turned around right at around the 13.5 mile mark. Now, according to the app, we've got 78% battery remaining, and we've still got 4 out of 5 battery bars. But we're starting to go kind of above and beyond what I expected for this scooter, and so just to be safe, I'm gonna turn around. Now, if it turns out that we turned around too early, I do have some kind of alternate routes, you know, on this particular course that we can use to bleed off the battery before we get back to our starting point. But at least this way, we can make it back without doing, you know, a super long, you know, walk of shame, or, you know, I have to call my wife to pick me up. And that's really one of the things that I really appreciate having on scooters is a voltage readout, because it does give you kind of the most accurate read on how much battery you actually have remaining. And so with this scooter, you don't have that, which, you know, I wouldn't expect it to have that. A lot of scooters at this price point don't. But at least they do have the percentage battery readout. The reason why I'm not focusing too much on that right now is the mileage in the app is off quite a bit. So it doesn't seem like it's updating in real time, and you know, I don't want to be cruising around here thinking I got 78% battery remaining when I really got 40%. But right now we are cruising around on this hard-packed dirt and gravel, and this is very comfortable. I mean, you can hear it in my voice, you can see my hands on the handlebars. There's no kind of aggressive bouncing around or anything, and that's because these 11-inch tires are helping absorb some of that, but so is that full suspension. So really nice to have on a scooter like this. And right up ahead we got some deeper gravel. Let's see how this thing does. A little more bouncy, but it's doing a lot better than I thought it would. All right, folks, quick little update for you here. We officially lost our second battery bar. So we are now at 3 out of 5 battery bars remaining. And that happened right around the 16 mile mark. And we've been cruising around right now for about an hour and 16 minutes. So making pretty good progress. If this battery bar and percentage readout hold up, we should go kind of above and beyond what I expected for this scooter today. So we'll see how we net out. So given we're cruising around on these nice long straightaways, I think this would be a great opportunity to show you how cruise control on this Max Pro works. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull over to the side here. Those drum brakes in action. And the way you enable that feature on this scooter is you hit the power button 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. You'll hear the double click, cruise control icon is blinking. It's not active, but it's waiting for us to engage it. And the way that you engage cruise control on this scooter is you maintain a certain speed over 5 or 6 seconds or so. Let's see if I can do it. This road's a little bit bumpy. But right now I'm doing my best to maintain speed. And it double clicked. That means cruise control is now active. So right now, scooter's doing all the work. I don't have my thumbs on the throttle, and we're cruising. Now, if you want to turn cruise control off, you can usually hit the throttle, which I did, and it's now deactivated. You can also do that by pulling on the brake levers. So if you are going to be cruising around on long straightaways, relax a little, engage cruise control. But anyways, that feature is there if you want it. And so right now, we've been cruising around, and 3 out of 5 battery bars remaining for a number of miles, and I will say that now I'm starting to feel, that acceleration's a little bit slower. It's taking a little bit longer to get up to speed, which, like I said, is completely normal. That first half of the battery is always going to be more performant than the second half. The question is, from one scooter to the next is, how does that performance degrade as you get closer and closer to zero? But right now we're cruising around right around 20 miles an hour. And that's with what looks like now officially 2 out of 3 battery bars remaining. So as I was talking, we lost a battery bar, and it looks like that happened right around the 20 mile mark. So 20 miles, 2 out of 5 battery bars remaining, and we've been cruising around for an hour and 35 minutes. All right, we got a little bit of a curb here. Let's check out this ground clearance. Okay, made it through that just fine. Let's see what it's like going up something here. And ground clearance is just enough. In case you were wondering, I did mention earlier on in the video that I tested dozens of different electric scooters and e-bikes out here. And you know, we just crossed the 23-mile mark, which means we've exceeded the range we were able to get on the Apollo Go, the Segway 9BOT Max G2, the Segway 9BOT Max G3, the VMAX VX4 LT Edition, as well as the Segway ZT3 Pro. Okay, and we were able to do that on a scooter that costs less than 700 bucks. Pretty impressive stuff. Of course, we'll see how we net out at the end. You know, we've still got the InMotion Climber, the NIU KQI 300X, as well as a bunch of others, but we'll see if we get that far. All right, so let me give you a quick update here before I forget about it. We lost our 4th battery bar, so we're at 1 out of 5 battery bars remaining. We still have a little ways to go, and that happened right around 23.25 miles. And so we've got 1 battery bar left. Right up ahead, I'll stop and see what the app says. But I think we got several miles to our starting point, so I hope we can make it back. If not, I mean, it's not a terrible walk. And it's a nice cool day. I think when I started this ride, it was out, you know, in the 60-degree Fahrenheit range, so nice and chilly, which is nice and cool for Arizona standards. Let me pull over to the side here and we'll take a look at that app. All right, so I went ahead and took a look at the app, and it says we've got 18% battery remaining. So is that gonna be enough to get us, you know, 2.5 miles to our destination? I don't know. You might have caught it already, but it does take quite a bit longer to get up to speed. Throttle's all the way in, and we're struggling at, you know, on the screen, 16, 17 miles an hour, on GPS right around 14 miles an hour. And so when you get down to the bottom of the battery, you know, don't expect the same punchy ride that you had at the very beginning. Another update for you here. We officially crossed the 25-mile mark. We've been riding around for exactly 2 hours at this point. And at 25 miles, we've officially exceeded the range that I was able to get on the dual motor InMotion Climber. And so next up in line, I think, is the KQI, NIU KQI 300X. That scooter I was able to get about 26 miles. And of course, at the end of this video, I will be posting a chart which will give you a good idea how this scooter sits relative to all of its major competitors that I've tested. All right, acceleration is significantly slower. We still have that last battery bar remaining, but I think we're losing juice quick, folks. Not quite crawl to home mode yet, but getting there. Still cruising around. 1 battery bar remaining. Things are quite a bit slower. We've got a little bit of a incline up ahead, then we got to cross this major street, so hopefully we have enough juice for both of those. Here we go. Throttle's all the way in, still in sport mode. We're gonna make it up this little hill. And we are, all right. Did better than I expected. Now the question is, can we cross this street? A little bit of a head start. Really slow, as you can see, but we made it across. So just keep that in mind. You know, when you're at the bottom of the battery, you're not gonna be able to get up to speed quickly, so you wanna be careful crossing intersections and stuff like that. We'll cruise around these nice neighborhood streets. Throttle's all the way in. Screen showing 14 miles an hour, maybe 15. GPS is right around 12 to 13. And that last battery bar is actually blinking at us now. And it looks like that happened right around 26.5 miles. Which, by the way, is above and beyond what we were able to get on the NIU KQI 300X. And so, pretty impressive performance out of this scooter today, but I'll cruise around this neighborhood and I'll check in with you here when that battery's drained. I did hop back into the app and it's actually showing 0% battery remaining. Yet that battery bar is blinking at us and we still got power. All right, folks, so there you have it. That was our range test with the Hiboy Max Pro. And on this particular ride, 27.24 miles. We had an average moving speed of 13.9 miles an hour. We hit a top speed of 21.2 miles an hour. Elevation gain today, 377 feet, and we were cruising around for 2 hours, 12 minutes. So as you can see, really good performance out of this Hiboy Max Pro. I will throw a comparison chart on the screen so you can see how this thing does compared to other scooters, but 27 miles of real world range with a 200-pound rider on a scooter that costs less than 700 bucks. That is a really good performance in my book. Overall, very comfortable ride, especially for the rather simple suspension that this thing does come equipped with, but those 11-inch tires do go a long way in help taking the edge off of some of those bumps in the road. From a comfort perspective, pretty comfortable. You know, my back foot is a little bit sore because you don't have a kick plate on this scooter, but you know, I think for everyday rides that most people are going to do, they'll find this scooter to be very comfortable. If you do want to pick up one of these scooters, I will include an affiliate link in the description below, as well as any available coupons. And if you do use that to pick up one of these scooters, it absolutely helps support this channel and keeps the wheels moving on future reviews. As always, thank you so much for tuning into Tom's Gadget Garage. We'll see you next time.